Hi, this is Terri. Welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is Ray's absolute favorite, isn't it?
I have no opinion on this topic, Mom.
It's actually on Clubhouse, and if you're not familiar with Clubhouse, the way it's described by the founders, it's a, what did they say, a social product based on voice. The only reason I jest with Ray about this is I have spent a fair bit of time on Clubhouse, and you know, anything that I do, my kids kind of poke fun at me about, and this is not fair.
You spend a shit ton of time on that app.
Yes. Well, that's because I have decided to use it how I want to use it, and I actually use it for virtual co-working. So let me take a step back with Clubhouse, and I got on it mid-August, but that was only after hearing about it being released back in April. It is still in beta. It was designed by two founders here in the Silcon Valley. I think when it was first released and I started to see all sorts of noise about it on Twitter, it was getting bashed. But part of the reason why it was getting bashed is that the folks that were part of the initial beta were really a very homogenous group, and it was a lot of VCs and a lot of Silicon Valley folks, and it was like, great, another platform for the white bro show. And so I was like, I'm not getting near this. I saw some people that I respected who were starting to make some comments about it. I resisted the feeling of having any sense of FOMO about it, because I'm like, I'm just not jumping into this. And then in August, I heard that Arlan Hamilton got on the platform, and there is no way she was going to touch something that was just part of the white bro show. It had to be something that had a more diverse audience, that was really open to listening to a broader user population. And so I went ahead and just sent an email, applied online, and I was given access to the beta. I didn't realize that that's not the way that most people got access, because it was invite only. Because of that experience, because I wasn't invited by anybody, I wasn't welcomed in by anybody, which meant I wasn't shown the ropes, told about the culture, told how to use the platform. It's a really thin user experience, so it's not like it's a hard application, but there are a lot of things from a cultural perspective that it's really important for people to know. Everything from on your little profile, there's a little, what people call a party hat. I call it the cornucopia of fun. And that is an indicator for the first week that you are a newbie. And the thing about it is, people on the platform are really nice and welcoming to those people who have the party hats. And it would have been nice to know that only lasted a week. But I wasn't told that, because what I would do is jump into welcome rooms, because people would do welcome rooms for the people that they invited in order to introduce them to other people and show them the ropes. And so I would just jump in from welcome room to welcome room to welcome room in order to meet people, get a sense of the platform, and then also hear about how to use it and how it works. And what I decided to do, because after a short period of time I got my first invite, I wanted to make sure that the people that I invited onto the platform were welcomed in super warmly, that I made introductions to people so that they had people to connect with, and at the same time they learned about how to use it and from a cultural perspective. So I have this crazy checklist. Initially I just kind of wrote things down, and then as I invited more and more people, I had to find ways to like check. So that's why it's a mess. At some point I should probably just create like a checklist. I'm not inviting as many more people at this point. I think I've invited 12 to 14 people on the platform. And I'm not even sure how much some of them use it. I think my first invite I used for Nicole Sanchez, who's based in Berkeley. I grew up with her, played softball with her growing up, and she does a lot in the diversity and inclusion space, and I thought she would be a fantastic person to have on the panel. And then I think the next person I invited was my friend Werner, who's in Poland. He was really struggling just as I was, because he's an extrovert. He likes to learn from people, and he was stuck in his in his place in Warsaw with his wife and his 3-year-old. And one time we were talking, and I had said that Clubhouse saved me during COVID because I have not been able to get out and meet people, and I thrive when I have the opportunity to learn from other people. I thrive when I can verbally process stuff, when I can connect people, when I can connect ideas, and without being able to go to events, I didn't have that platform. And so this platform, especially once we opened up the co-working club and the co-working room, really, really saved me because I have been able to meet people from around the world that I would never in a million years meet. I now have what I fondly refer to as my Clubhouse besties that I have met through the co-working room. And this is Lara. She's a 27-year-old based in Washington, D.C. Ndali, who is, I think she's about the same age as Lara. She is going to grad school. She's in New York City. Katherine is also in New York City. She's 33. She's in media marketing. And then, Nina Gregory is down in LA. Hilary is actually just in Palo Alto, but our circles don't cross, so we would never have met. Naya is in Romania. Sheila is actually in San Francisco. And just last night I had a conversation with the gal who's been regular in the co-working room for the last 2 weeks, Sarah, and she's just up the street in Belmont. This other gal, Rachel, who's also up in San Francisco, she came into the room while we were chatting at the end of the day, and we were just wrapping up the co-working room, and it was like, oh, we should get together in person when it's a little safer with COVID. Those of us, and I've talked about it with this gal, Hilary. She and I both love champagne. It's like, yeah, let's get together and have some champagne. But it's gotten colder, and our schedules haven't aligned quite yet, but we will. So it's been fascinating. There are a whole bunch of people from Atlanta that I've gotten to know, and I've made an effort to invite people from around the world. Most of it is West Coast. Well, not most. A lot of it, because the founders are here on the West Coast, that it tends to be West Coast centric, but we're seeing more and more on the East Coast, and then there's starting to be more of a global expansion. There was a guy from India who popped into the co-working room yesterday, somebody from Stockholm, Sweden. My friend Imene, who's in Paris, who I invited onto the platform, she's been in the co-working room the last couple of days. It's been absolutely delightful to see her and hear what she's up to and be able to support her virtually through our co-working room. I've invited my friend Paula, who's based in Iceland, and my friend Willie, who's now based in Taiwan. So I'm trying to expand from a global perspective, and also making sure that the people I invite are diversely represented. So that I'm contributing to the diversity of the platform, the diversity of voices. I know I said that it was like this social product based on voice. If you can imagine, and bear with me with this analogy, that it's the biggest conference in the world, and it's one that you get to design the way you want to. You can go into rooms that might have a scheduled event, so there might be people up on stage, and this is all audio. So I invited my friend Candace, and she was like, oh, I don't want to get on this. I don't need another thing. And I'm like, it's super, super easy. And since she got on reluctantly, she got onto the platform after she had to buy a new phone. And she's like, my God, this is so easy. I just didn't realize just how easy this would be, because you can just pop into a room. So imagine you're wandering around, you hear some voices, and you're like, hey, let me go check that out. Or you see a label on a door and you go, oh, that looks like it's interesting. Something around philosophy, something around healthcare, something around the housewives of, New Jersey. I don't watch those shows. Or let's say somebody's talking politics, and you walk in, you sit in the audience, and a couple of people are up on stage, and then you're like, oh, I want to participate. So you raise your hand, they pull you up on stage, and you're a part of the conversation. Or let's say you want to start your own conversation. So you find an empty room and you just say, hey, I want to talk about roller coasters today. So you open up a room and you just put in the title of what's your favorite roller coaster, and then you can have a conversation. People can pop in, people pop out. You can have a curated conversation. So I've done a couple of fireside chats with people like Jen Neendorfer, who's one of the managing partners of January Ventures, of which I'm an LP, limited partner. So I did a fireside chat with her and had her come up, and I didn't allow questions until till the end. So it was a very curated conversation, and then one at a time I allowed people to come up. It is not a perfect environment. I did do a room, I did a pitch event room with Jen, of all people, and thought that it would be great because we just had women on, we had women pitch in the room. We had, at some points we had over 100 people in the room. You can see the number of people, and you can see just all their faces listed. And I thought, this is like a no-brainer. Let's get as many women, LGBTQ+, and BIPOC founders pitching in front of potential investors or getting exposure for potential introductions to help grow their business. Let's do as much of this as possible. Well, I got completely raked on Twitter for that, and in a way that I hadn't really expected. So there are some things that are less than stellar about the platform. There have been a couple of different controversies on the platform about who's been allowed. There's been some concerns about racism. There's been concerns about anti-Semitism. Definitely you've got the misogyny playing out on the platform as well. So it's not perfect, but depending upon who you follow, and how you want to get notified, and the rooms that you go into. Like when I see topics and I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to go sideways, or I see that something is like a train wreck, I just don't go into those rooms. And if I see that there are people, like I followed people very early on, I followed them and then I followed them on Twitter, because there's no messaging on the platform, there's no liking, there's no subscribing to anything. And so use Twitter as basically as the messaging back channel, use the DMs on Twitter. And so I would follow people, and so there have been some kind of bad actors, and I've since unfollowed them. But by following them, I get to see where the good actors, the people that I'm interested in. I can see that I've been somewhere with them. Let's say they've come into the co-working room, or I've met them through another club I have, which is the self-promotion support group. And I do a weekly working session on Thursdays so that people can come in and work on one thing around self-promotion, whether it's their bio or reaching out for a speaker engagement or some sort of a social media, or working on their 1 to 2 minute elevator pitch. It's just a dedicated working session. I'm also doing some various different events, whether it's around personal branding, bringing in other experts to talk about things so that we can get better at self-promotion. So I have a club around that as well. I have a third club called the Midlife Madness Club, which I haven't done anything with, and I think I have a couple hundred members in that club. I should probably do something. I just haven't had a chance quite yet. We are doing recording this on a Friday, and for the co-working room, one of us, either me and Ndali or Lara, we open it up pretty much every day, and it's open for as long as we want to host it. We talk at the top of the hour for 10 to 15 minutes with whoever's in the room at the time, ask people about what they're working on, because it's super, super light accountability. And here's Violet breaking into the room. Then we go heads down with music for 45 to 50 minutes, and then the top of the hour we touch base and we connect and we see how we can support each other. We give out lots of woohoos, and because my friend Casey Golden of Lux Lock brought in this whole concept of eating a frog. It's a Mark Twain quote. We actually have a frog as kind of our part of our logo, and so anytime, and it's a mascot. So anytime you see a frog, and like a celebration type thing, that you know it's related to the co-working room. So we've created this community, and that's one of the things that I think is super fabulous about Clubhouse, is the fact that I've been able to build community at a time when I'm not seeing anybody or meeting anybody new. I don't think I would have been able to survive COVID this long mentally in this good of shape if I hadn't had the support. I don't go out much from the co-working room or from the events that I create, but they're there if I'm feeling bored and brave. The last thing I want to say is, Marquesa, if you're watching this, I do have an invite for you. So we'll go ahead and I'll get that out to you, and then we'll schedule your welcome room. Because anybody I invite, I insist on taking in, doing a 1-hour onboarding and a welcome room. And I know that people resist it and go like, are you kidding me? But after they do it, every single one of the 12 to 15 people that I've invited, they were all like, thank you, this was awesome. Because people I've met come in and welcome, and then they get to meet, and then they get to hear about other people's experiences as I go through the checklist. So
The mess of a checklist.
My mess of a checklist. So for one lucky viewer, I do have an extra invite, but just know that your name is going to be tied to mine, so you have to be a good actor on the platform. But if you're interested, drop a note in the comment. Tell me why you want one of the invites for Clubhouse, and I'll go ahead and get that extended. You do have to have an Apple device with iOS 14 or above, so just want to put that out there. And I think with that, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Ray, any last thing about Clubhouse and making fun of me?
You spent like 12 to 14 hours on there.
Yeah, I did.
A day.
Yeah. Well, that's because I have it open. I just have it going. So like if I'm moderating the co-working room, then I just have the app open, and then I'll just leave it next to the speaker where I have music playing, and then at the top of the hour, I'll just check in with folks. So I'm working. I'm just working virtually with, anywhere from 2 to 20 other people from around the world. So we're not always talking about anything unless it's like the top of the hour or somebody's like, I'm stuck. Can you help me with something? So anyway, I'm trying to get my son Adam on it. There's a philosophy club. Somebody was talking about Kanye. I think he needs it. I think he's feeling somewhat socially bereft, and I think it would be a good thing for him. So anyway, if you want one of the invites, tell me why in the comments, or send me a note, or actually, no, I want it in the comments because I need to be building up comments. If you know of somebody who wants to know more about Clubhouse, feel free to share this video with them. We are at 195 subscribers, so 5 away from our goal of 200, so I'd love some help with that. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And unless we have anything else, as always, take some risks, let go of perfection, and above all else, have some fun.